Shalom. Good morning. I'm going to be doing videos every day, and I'm going to read this book called the Torah, the 5 books of Moses, a new translation, the Holy Scriptures according to the traditional Hebrew text. Okay, Genesis 1. When God began to create the heaven and the earth being formed, unformed and void, with darkness over the surface of the deep, and a wind from God sweeping over the water, God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, a first day. God said, "Let there be an expanse in the midst of the water, that it may separate the water." God made the expanse, and it separated the water which was below the expanse from the water which was above the expanse. And it was so. God calling the expanse sky. God called the expanse sky. And there was evening, and there was morning, a second day. God said, "Let the water below the sky be gathered into one area, that the dry land may appear." And it was so. God called the dry land earth, and the gathering of the waters he called seas. And God saw that this was good. And God said, "Let the earth sprout vegetation, seed-bearing plants, fruit trees of every kind on the earth that bear fruit with the seed in it." And it was so. The earth brought forth vegetation, seed-bearing plants of every kind, and trees of every kind, bearing fruit with the seed in it. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, a third day. God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the sky to separate the day from night. They shall serve as signs for the set times, the days and the years, and they shall serve as lights in the expanse of the sky to shine upon the earth." And it was so. God made the 2 great lights, the greater light to dominate the day, and the lesser night to dominate the night, and the stars. And God set them in the expanse of the sky to shine upon the earth, to dominate the day and the night, and to separate light from darkness. And God saw that this was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, a 4th day. God said, "Let the waters bring forth swarms of living creatures, and birds that fly above the earth across the expanse of the sky." God created the great sea monsters, and all the living creatures of every kind that creep, which the waters brought forth in swarms, and all the winged birds of every kind. And God saw that this was good. God blessed them, saying, "Be fertile and increase, fill the waters in the seas, and let the birds increase on the earth." And there was evening, and there was morning, a 5th day. God said, "Let the earth bring forth every kind of living creature, cattle, creeping things, and wild beasts of every kind." And it was so. God made wild beasts of every kind, and cattle of every kind, and all kinds of creeping things of the earth. And God saw that this was good. And God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, that shall rule the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, the cattle, the whole earth, and all the creeping things that creep on the earth. And God created man in his image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fertile and increase. Fill the earth and master it, and rule the fish of the sea, the birds of the sea, and all the living things that creep on the earth." God said, "See, I give you every seed-bearing plant that is upon the earth, and every tree that has seed-bearing fruit. They shall be yours for food. And to all the animals on the land, to all the birds of the sea, and to everything that creeps on earth, in which there is the breath of life, I give all the green plants for food." And it was so. And God saw all that he had made, and found it very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day. 2. The heaven and the earth were finished, and all their array. On the seventh day God finished the work which he had been doing, and he ceased on the seventh day from all the work which he had done. And God blessed the seventh day, and declared it holy, because on it God ceased from all the work of creation which he had done. Such is the story of heaven and earth when they were created. When the Lord God made earth and heaven, when no shrub of the field was yet on earth, and no grass of the field had yet sprouted, because the Lord God had not sent rain upon the earth, and there was no man to till the soil, but a flow would well up from the ground and water the whole surface of the earth. The Lord God formed man from the dust of the earth. He blew into his nostrils the breath of life. A man became a living being. The Lord God planted a garden in Eden in the east, and placed there the man whom he had formed. And from the ground the Lord God caused to grow every tree that was pleasing to the sight and good for food, with the tree of life in the middle of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and bad. A river issues from Eden to water the garden, and it then divides and becomes 4 branches. The name of the first is Pishon, the one that winds through the whole land of Havilah, where the gold is. The gold of that land is good. Bdellium is there, and lapis lazuli. The name of the second river is Gihon, the one that winds through the whole land of Cush. The name of the third river is Tigris, the one that flows east of Ashur. And the fourth river is Euphrates. The Lord God took the man and placed him in the garden of Eden to till it and tend it. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, "Of every tree of the garden you are free to eat, but as for the tree of knowledge of good and bad, you must not eat of it, for as soon as you eat of it, you shall die." The Lord God said, "It is not good for a man to be alone. I will make a fitting helper for him." And the Lord God formed out of the earth all the wild beasts and all the birds of the sky, and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And whatever the man called each living creature, that would be its name. And the man gave names And the man gave names to all the cattle, and to the birds of the sky, and to all the wild beasts. But for Adam no fitting helper was found. So the Lord God cast a deep sleep upon the man, and while he slept, he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh at that spot. And the Lord God fashioned that rib that he had taken from the man into a woman, and he brought her to the man. Then the man said, "This one at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. This one shall be called woman. From the man was she taken. Hence a man leaves his father and mother and clings to his wife, so they become one flesh."